setup. This is how much money we had left over after our budget. This is the debt payoff sheet that we made here. And remember, we wrote down our debt here. We paid off Amazon, then we paid off Capital One. We tracked paying off Capital One, and then we paid off Chase.
Who said Reeve couldn't get it like that? Who said I couldn't hit the club like that? Ooh, she melanated. Ooh, she melanated. Yeah, she melanated. Ooh, she melanated. You better.
Hi budget babes, it's Julia Creations guys, and I'm back with another video. So it's been brought to my attention that people were asking how do we use the debt tracker page. I do have a full video. My very first video on my playlist talks about how to use every single page of the planner, but I feel like it's time to update that. So we're gonna get straight into it. We're gonna do a budget, and I'm gonna show you how to pay off credit card debt, and then we're going to make a budget showing how we use the debt tracker each month. So let's get straight into it. You guys know I like talking. Let's just do it. So the first thing we are going to do, we need to see what we have, what we're working with. We're going to write a budget. So the goal here is to pay off debt. I like doing my own budget and recording it, guys, but I feel like doing other examples is more transparent, especially since I'm not in debt. So it's kind of hard for me to get on here and do my own budget if it's not corresponding to someone else's situation. So that's why you're going to see me use a lot of clients' budgets, a lot of other examples, just because I feel like it's more relatable to another group of person versus just myself. I feel like just doing my budget, yes, it's helpful, but seeing other perspectives or something you may connect with is better. So this budget babe brings home $4,600 per month. This is her income after tax is $4,600. So now you guys know the gist of fixed expenses. Our fixed expenses are going to be our expenses that are usually the same every month. Then variables are going to be our expenses that vary each month. So I'm going to go in and fill out these expenses, and then I'll be right back. Okay guys, so her full expenses total to $38.18. So we are going to find her cash surplus. The cash surplus is going to be the money we have left over after we take care of all of our bills and expenses. So we're going to take $4,600 minus $38.18. So $4,600 minus $38.18 is going to be $782. So guys, we have $782 left over after we take care of all of our bills and expenses. So we are going to use that to pay off the debt. So the first thing we need to do is we need to write down all the debt and make a debt payoff plan. So with that being said, guys, the first thing we need to do is write down all the debt. So we're going to go ahead and list out the creditor, the balance, and the minimum payment on each one of those cards. Remember, all our minimums are covered in our expenses. Now we're just going through and we're writing down the balances on our cards so we know how much we owe on everything and what we're going to pay off first. So you want to write this down in a list here. You can do it whatever order you want. You can do your smallest to your biggest to your smallest, whatever the case is. Based off your cash surplus, we'll decide which one we want to pay off first. Okay guys, now once we have that listed, we can decide which credit cards we are going to pay off. So in this case, we have that Amazon as our smaller one here, which doesn't have a minimum on it because it's fairly new, and it doesn't have interest. But we're gonna go ahead and knock that off since it is our smallest one, and then we're gonna work our way to our biggest cards. So starting November, we are gonna take 700, or actually, you know, we're gonna do this in October. It's still October, so let me scratch this out here. We're gonna take October, and we're gonna take this $782, and we're gonna go ahead and pay off Amazon. Let's get that one out the way so we don't have to worry about that. So pay off Amazon, which has $576 on there. So we're gonna take our $782. So 782 minus $576 is gonna be $206 in our savings. And guys, remember, she is automatically putting $400 aside, but she also, you know, whatever leftover we have, she could put into her savings, or if she wants to put more towards her cards, she totally can. So boom, just like that, Amazon is paid off. So now we no longer have to pay, well, there wasn't a minimum on Amazon, but if there was a minimum, we wouldn't have to pay that anymore. So boom, now we have the Capital One and the Chase card. So we're gonna work on paying off Capital One next. So we're gonna pay off Capital One. Starting November, our cash surplus here is gonna be $782. So at this $782, it's gonna take us, let's see here. We're gonna take Capital One, which has a balance of $31.71. So $31.71 divided by $782 is gonna be roughly about 4.5 months. So we're just gonna round up to 5 here. So November, December, January, February, March, 2, 4, yeah, so it'll take us till March. So we're gonna put $782 extra towards that card. So remember guys, we are still paying the minimum. We're gonna use our minimum as our interest barrier, so that way we're putting extra money doesn't get taken away based off, you know, the interest here. Because I feel that's what happens to a lot of clients. They're like, okay, I'm gonna just put an extra little bit amount of money there on each card, and then you just wind up playing the back and forth game with interest. Okay, so 782 times 5 months is going to be $39.10. With $39.10, we're able to pay off the Capital One. So $39.10 minus $31.71 is going to be $739. That will go in our savings. And remember guys, we are still paying this $121 minimum. So boom, just like that, now we no longer have to pay off the Capital One. So we're gonna add this $121 minimum back into our cash surplus. So January, February, March, April. Starting April, we're gonna go ahead and add $121 back in here. 782 plus 121 is going to be 903. Now we're gonna work on paying off Chase. So guys, by the time we get to Chase, remember we're still paying our minimums on all our cards. It's probably 100% smaller at this time. I'm just gonna round up to cover any interest that possibly has accumulated in this process. So 5032 divided by 903 is going to take roughly about 5.5 months, so we're going to round up to 6. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and September. 2, 4, 6. Okay, perfect. And we're going to put this 903 on top of the $167 minimum. That's going to be our interest barrier. 903. Oh my goodness, y'all. Almost dropped my phone. Okay, so 903 times 6 months is going to be 5418. So at 5418, we're going to minus that by 5032. And we're going to be able to put $386 in our savings. So now you guys are wondering, well, how do we put this in our debt tracker? We're going to go ahead and break it down, and let's put this in our debt tracker sheet. So this is our lovely debt tracker sheet, guys. There's 12 pages of this in the planner. I recommend using 1 page per credit card until you pay off each credit card. So for this case, let me zoom in here so you guys can see everything nice and clearly. As you can see, it asks for your creditor. So we're going to start with Capital One, since that's the first card that we're working on paying off. So Capital One. And then we're going to write what our starting balance is. Our starting balance was $31.71. That's the starting balance. We don't know what the credit limit is. You can fill all this in detail for detail if you want to. It's up to you, and put your interest rate. I always round you guys up, so I'm not really worried about the interest, but if you want to put yours in there, you can. And then we want to go ahead and write down the minimum payments that we're paying on the Capital One, which is going to be $121. So we're going to go ahead and write that in. So what I want you guys to keep in mind here is that we're working on paying off one card at a time, but we're still paying our minimums on every single card. So there goes our starting balance, and there goes our minimum payment, and then this is the date. So the date I want you to write down is going to be your minimum payment date. And remember, our cash surplus is either at the end of the month or it can be in the middle of the month. So we'll take the money we have left over at the end of the month or the middle of the month, whenever we see that difference there, when all our fixed expenses are covered, or we take care of all of our expenses. That's the money we have left over. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and start with November, because starting November, we're going to just say 11/5. We'll just say that that's when the minimum payment's due. So we know for a fact we're going to go ahead and pay $121 because that's the minimum on the card. The balance of the card here is at $31.71. But we're going to put, according to the budget or our debt payoff here that we wrote, we're going to put an additional $782 starting November towards this Capital One. So with that being said, we're going to put $782 plus the minimum, which is going to total to $903. So $903 is what we're going to put on that card. So starting December, let's just say our minimum's due on December, we're going to pay our other minimum, but we're going to go ahead and minus $903 from the balance, because that's what we paid in November. So $31.71 minus 903. Oopsie, hold on here. $31.71 minus 903 is going to be $22.68. That is the new balance. Can you guys see the camera? Is it fogging up here? Hold on. Okay, guys, that says $22.68. I don't know why my camera lost focus here, but that's $22.68. So we're gonna do the same thing we did in November. We're gonna put additional $782 plus the $121 minimum, which once again is going to equal $903. So starting January 1/5, we're gonna do the same process again. So $22.68 minus 903 is going to put that balance at $13.65. Same thing we did before. And guys, remember, we're still putting extra towards the card, so this should be covering all the all the interest. If we're putting $903 extra, that should cover any interest that comes with this card. So then we're going to take $782, and it's going to get repetitive here. So all we are doing is we're just tracking our payments and how much extra we're putting towards a card. Let's say this isn't the card that you're working on paying off. Just put your minimum in your variable expense, how we did when we wrote the budget out at the beginning. And we're going to use this debt tracker when we're working on one card at a time. So boom, now we no longer have to, I'm just kidding. So now starting February, we're going to go ahead and take $903 from this. So $1,365 minus 903 is going to be $462. $121 minimum. So we did $782 plus 121 minimum equals 903, and that's what got it down to $462. So now what we're gonna do, guys, remember, according to our debt payoff sheet, this will be paid off here by March, right? So we got one more month, but we're not gonna have to pay that full whole month. So 3/5, which is gonna be March, January, February, March. We're gonna put our $121 minimum, and then whatever the extra is, that will equal to $462. So 462 minus 121 is going to be $341 that we have to put here. So 341 plus $121 minimum, then pay off. We'll pay off the card. Now the balance is at 0. So that's how we set up a debt payoff. So we set up a budget, then we did a debt payoff, and that's how we track it. So if you were working on paying off, doing the snowball or paying off one card at a time, this is the route you will go with. Then if you want, you can start doing your next card on here. So let's zoom out. So just like that, we paid off the Capital One. So if you want to add another card in here and complete the process, you sure can. So let's go back to our debt payoff sheet. So starting April, we're going to work on paying off the Chase. We're going to put $902 plus the $167 minimum. Wait, can you guys see it? Oh my gosh. I hate when the camera doesn't focus. So we're going to put $903 plus the $167 minimum here, just like how we did in our debt payoff sheet. So we're going to go ahead and use another sheet for this one, just so, I don't know how my camera keeps going in and out, guys. Okay, there we go. So we're going to do a whole nother debt payoff sheet just so you can see what it's like if you have to use 2 different pages based off your budget here. So we're working with Chase. For some reason, my camera doesn't want to refocus. So guys, you have 2 options that you can do. You can go ahead and add your next card and start your repayments and do the same process we did before, or you can use a whole different sheet if you want to reorganize it and write down every time you pay off a different card. It's totally up to you. I'm going to show you guys how we're going to do it if we use a new sheet. So we're going to go ahead and go to another debt payoff page here. And we're going to work on paying off Chase because that's the next card. So we're going to do the same information we did before. You can write in your interest rate, all that stuff if you would like. It's totally up to you. So now let's go back to this budget here, our debt payoff sheet. And we're putting $903 extra towards Chase, and the minimum is $167, and the balance is $50.32. So let's go here. The starting balance is $50.32. And remember, guys, we were paying our minimums on this, so it may be way smaller. I just like to round up to cover any interest that accumulated. So our starting, our repayments were $167. That's the minimum payment that we're paying in on there each month. So now we're starting with April. We just finished, let me go back to the original. Yeah, we're starting with the month of April, January, February, March, April. So yeah. So now we're just going to do the same date here. It's probably going to be different since it's a different card, but we're just going to say that our minimum is due on the 5th here. And we're going to do the same process we did before. Let me zoom in. I don't know why my camera is not focusing here. Okay, let me zoom in and see if that helps. Okay, boom. So remember, guys, our minimum payment is $167. Our starting balance is $50.32, and we're gonna put $903 plus $167 minimum, which is going to equal 903 plus 167, 1070. So we're gonna do the same process we did before. So 5, 6, $167. Then we're gonna take $50.32 minus 1070 is going to be $39.62. Then we're gonna do the same thing all over again. 309 plus $167 minimum, 1070. So starting 6, 6, we're gonna go ahead and take 1070 from there. 39.62 minus 1070 is going to be 28.92. Same process before. So 7, 6, 167, 1822. I'm trying to hurry up, guys. My camera is gonna die here. $167 minimum. And then 86, $167 minimum minus 1070. And be 752. And we're gonna repeat that process again. So 903 is $167 minimum. It's 1070. So now we're gonna take the balance here, 585 plus the $167 minimum, and that will zero us out here, and that will pay off Chase. And remember, guys, our goal here was to pay off Chase by September. So that's how you do a debt payoff, by creating a budget to help you pay off your credit cards. So that's the process and how you will use the debt tracker, guys. I hope this helps, and let me know if you have any questions. Attach them above, and make sure you guys like the video and subscribe. Okay, guys, I'm just gonna go over the budget one more time before I end this video. But this was the budget we set up. This is how much money we had left over after our budget. This is the debt payoff sheet that we made here, and remember, we wrote down our debt here. We paid off Amazon, then we paid off Capital One, we tracked paying off Capital One, and then we paid off Chase. And then let me go back to the debt payoff sheet. This is the Capital One. We'll be done with that by March here, just like on the sheet here. We're supposed to be done with that by March. And then remember, guys, we did one more budget for Chase. We started in April, and we would be done by September, just as mentioned on here. So that's how we use the debt tracker. Let me know if you guys have any questions or concerns. Bye, budget babes. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe.